The squirrel, the tiny creature hiding an incredible secret. Have you ever watched a squirrel and actually stopped to think about what you were seeing? Not just a small animal running across a branch, not just a fluffy tail disappearing behind a tree, but a creature capable of doing things that seem almost impossible for its size. A squirrel can race headfirst down a tree. It can leap through empty space from one branch to another. It can bury hundreds, sometimes thousands, of pieces of food and later find many of them again. And when it forgets, something extraordinary can happen. A seed remains beneath the soil. Rain falls, seasons pass, and one day a tree begins to grow. Think about that for a moment. A tiny animal, simply trying to survive, may unknowingly help plant the forest that will shelter creatures long after it is gone. And that is only the beginning. Because behind those bright eyes, tiny paws, and famous fluffy tail is one of nature's most remarkable little survival machines. The squirrel may look ordinary, but the closer you look, the harder it becomes to call it ordinary. A body built for the trees. Watch a squirrel move through a forest. For us, a tree is an obstacle. For a squirrel, it is a highway. Branches become roads. Trunks become walls. Tiny gaps become bridges. And heights that would terrify us become part of everyday life. A squirrel can run along narrow branches with astonishing confidence. It can stop suddenly, change direction, climb vertically, hang from surfaces, and launch itself into the air with incredible precision. But how? The answer begins with its body. Its hind legs are powerful compared with its small size, giving it the explosive force needed for jumping. Its claws are sharp and curved, helping it grip bark and uneven surfaces. Its body is light and flexible, and its ankles possess a remarkable ability that many people never notice. Tree squirrels can rotate their hind feet so their claws remain useful, even while descending a trunk head first. Imagine trying to climb down the side of a building face first. For us, it would be terrifying. For a squirrel, it is simply another route home. But perhaps its most recognizable feature is also one of its most useful. The tail. That beautiful, enormous, almost exaggerated tail is not there merely for appearance. It helps the squirrel balance while moving through branches. During a jump, it can help stabilize the body. In cold conditions, it can be wrapped around the body for warmth. It can even play a role in communication. One structure, several purposes: balance, protection, warmth, communication. And this is something we will see again and again. In nature, what appears decorative often turns out to have a function. The moment between two branches. There is a moment in a squirrel's life that lasts only a fraction of a second. But that fraction can mean everything. The squirrel reaches the end of a branch. Ahead of it is another tree. Between them nothing. No bridge. No safety net. Only air. It looks. It calculates. And then it jumps. For a moment, this tiny creature is completely suspended above the ground. Its body stretches. Its tail moves. Its paws reach forward. And somehow, again and again, it lands. What looks like reckless courage is actually the result of an animal exquisitely adapted to its environment. A mistake in the canopy can be costly, so speed alone is not enough. The squirrel needs coordination, grip, balance, depth perception, reaction time, muscle control. All of these systems must work together, and they do so in a creature small enough to sit in your hands. But perhaps the most fascinating abilities of squirrels are not found in their muscles. They are found in their minds. The hidden map. Imagine hiding hundreds of tiny objects across a huge landscape, some beneath leaves, some under soil, some beside trees, some near rocks. Then imagine leaving. Days pass, weeks pass, the landscape changes, leaves fall, rain moves debris, snow may cover the ground. Now return and try to find your hidden objects. Most humans would struggle badly, yet many squirrels spend part of their lives doing something remarkably similar. During periods when food is abundant, squirrels collect nuts and seeds and hide them in many different locations. This behavior is known as caching, and it is one of the secrets behind their survival. Instead of storing everything in one place, some species scatter their food across many locations. Why? Because one large storage site could be discovered and stolen. But hundreds of smaller caches spread the risk. It is almost like a biological savings account divided across many banks. And here is where the story becomes even more interesting. Squirrels are not simply wandering around later, hoping to stumble across their food. Research suggests that memory plays an important role in recovering caches. They can use spatial information and landmarks to help relocate hidden food. That means the quiet little squirrel outside your window may be carrying something extraordinary inside its brain. A mental map of its world, a map of trees, distances, landmarks, danger, shelter, and food hidden beneath the earth. But there is a problem. Even squirrels forget, and their mistakes may become gifts to the forest. When forgetting creates life, not every buried seed is recovered. Some remain underground. At first, that sounds like failure. The squirrel worked to collect it, carried it, buried it, and then never returned. Food lost, energy wasted. A mistake. Or is it? Because under the right conditions, that forgotten seed may germinate. A root pushes downward, a shoot reaches upward, and eventually, what was once a squirrel's forgotten meal may become a new plant or tree. The squirrel did not plan to restore a forest. It did not understand ecology. It did not think about future generations. It simply followed the behaviors necessary for survival. Yet those behaviors can also contribute to seed dispersal. This is one of nature's most beautiful patterns. An animal acts for itself and the ecosystem may benefit. The forest feeds the squirrel. The squirrel moves the seeds. Some seeds survive. New plants grow. And those plants may one day feed other animals. Life supports life. And suddenly, something as ordinary as a squirrel burying a nut becomes part of a much larger story. But life in the forest is not peaceful. And for a squirrel, danger can come from almost anywhere. A world full of eyes. To us, a park can feel calm. A forest can feel peaceful. But imagine experiencing that same place from the perspective of an animal, weighing only a few hundred grams. Above you may be birds of prey. On the ground may be foxes, cats, snakes, or other predators depending on the region. Even while eating, you cannot completely relax. Every sound matters. Every movement matters. Every shadow could mean danger. This helps explain one of the squirrel's most familiar behaviors. Stop. Look. Listen. Run. Stop again. Its movements can appear nervous or almost comical, but behind them lies a serious survival strategy. The squirrel must constantly balance two needs: finding food and avoiding becoming food. Spend too much time hiding and you may starve. Spend too much time eating carelessly and you may be caught. Survival exists between those two extremes, and squirrels have become masters of that balance. Their speed helps, their agility helps, their senses help, trees provide escape routes, and communication can also matter. Some squirrels produce alarm calls when danger appears. To human ears, these may sound like simple noises, but in the life of another squirrel, a warning can mean the difference between another ordinary afternoon and the last moment of its life. The language we rarely notice. We often imagine animal communication as something primitive, but spend enough time observing squirrels and you begin to notice patterns. Tail movements, body posture, vocalizations, sudden freezes, rapid movements. A squirrel's world is filled with signals. The tail itself can become part of this visual language. A flicking or waving tail may accompany agitation or warning. The same tail that helps with balance may also help communicate information. Again, one structure, multiple purposes. And there is another reason the tail is so important. Weather. For a small mammal, losing body heat can become dangerous quickly. That thick fur can help protect the animal from cold conditions. A squirrel curled tightly with its tail wrapped around its body almost looks as though it is sleeping beneath its own blanket. And in a sense it is. No manufactured fabric, no heater, no house built by human hands, just a body equipped for the world in which it must survive. The teeth that never stop. There is another feature hidden behind the squirrel's innocent face, its front teeth. Like other rodents, squirrels have incisors that continue growing throughout life. That sounds strange until you understand the problem they face. Squirrels constantly gnaw hard materials, nuts, seeds, bark, wood. If their teeth were like ours, this repeated wear could eventually destroy them. Instead, continuous growth compensates for wear. But this creates another challenge. The teeth must also be worn down properly. Growth and wear must remain in balance. Too little growth would be a problem. Too much uncontrolled growth would also be a problem. Once again, survival depends on balance. And when we look closely at living systems, balance appears everywhere. Body temperature, energy, movement, rest, growth, wear, food, danger. Even a squirrel's teeth tell a story of constant adjustment. Winter is coming. Summer can make survival look easy. The forest is alive. Food may be plentiful. Temperatures are comfortable. But seasons do not ask permission before changing. Autumn arrives, then winter. Food becomes harder to find. Days shorten, temperatures fall, and suddenly the little caches hidden months earlier become extremely valuable. This is why preparation matters. A squirrel gathering food in autumn is living in the present but behaving in a way that prepares it for the future. It does not know exactly what each winter day will bring. It cannot read a weather forecast. It cannot open a supermarket. It cannot order food. Yet generation after generation, squirrels perform behaviors that help carry them through scarcity. There is something humbling about that. Humans possess technology beyond anything an animal could understand. We build cities. We cross oceans. We communicate across the planet in seconds. Yet sometimes a tiny creature in a tree demonstrates a principle we ourselves struggle to remember. When abundance comes, prepare wisely for the difficult season. The mother and her hidden nest. But perhaps the most tender part of the squirrel's story begins far from human eyes. Inside a nest, baby squirrels enter the world vulnerable. They depend completely on their mother. The animal we see racing fearlessly through branches has a beginning marked by fragility. The mother must feed them, protect them, keep them warm, and choose a place where they have a chance to survive. For a time, the nest becomes their entire universe. Outside is a world of wind, rain, predators, hunger, and enormous heights. Inside is warmth, milk, protection. Then the day comes when the young squirrels must begin discovering the world beyond the nest. They climb, they learn, they hesitate, they make mistakes, and eventually they become the animals we see racing through the trees. It is easy to watch an adult squirrel leap between branches and think it was simply born, knowing how to survive. But behind that confidence is development, growth, practice, instinct, experience. Life begins small and then learns to face an enormous world. Not every squirrel lives in a tree. And here is something many people forget. When we say squirrel, we often picture one particular animal, a small creature with a large tail sitting on a branch holding a nut. But the squirrel family is far more diverse. There are tree squirrels, ground squirrels, chipmunks, marmots, and flying squirrels. And flying squirrels reveal another astonishing solution to life among trees. Despite their name, they do not truly fly like birds. They glide. A membrane of skin stretching between their limbs allows them to travel through the air. From tree to tree. Imagine the challenge. How do you move efficiently through a forest canopy without wings? Nature presents one answer. Glide. The body itself becomes a living parachute. And this is what makes studying animals so fascinating. The same problem can have completely different solutions. Some animals run, some climb, some burrow, some swim, some fly, some glide. Different bodies, different environments, different strategies. Yet each life is equipped with tools suited to its own world. The forest gardener. Now return to the ordinary squirrel collecting a nut. Perhaps you have seen this hundreds of times. It grabs the food, runs away, digs rapidly, places the nut into the ground, covers it, looks around, and disappears. The entire event may take only seconds. But imagine following the consequences. Maybe the squirrel returns and eats the nut. The story ends there. Or perhaps it never returns. Winter passes. Spring comes. The shell softens. The seed germinates. Years pass. The tiny shoot becomes a sapling. The sapling becomes a tree. Birds build nests in its branches. Insects live beneath its bark. Its leaves provide shade. Its roots hold soil. Its seeds feed animals. And perhaps another squirrel will someday sit on one of its branches. Think about the strange beauty of that circle. The squirrel once buried a seed beneath the forest. Years later, the forest created by such seeds may become home to squirrels. The creature helps shape the environment and the environment shapes the creature. Neither exists entirely alone. Small does not mean simple. We have a habit of measuring importance by size. Large animals impress us. Lions, elephants, whales, bears. We look at them and immediately recognize power. But a squirrel, we walk past it. We laugh when it steals food. We watch it for a few seconds. Then we continue with our day. Yet size can deceive us. Inside that tiny animal are systems of astonishing complexity. A heart beating continuously. Lungs exchanging gases. Muscles responding in fractions of a second. Eyes processing movement and distance. A brain storing spatial information. Nerves coordinating balance. Teeth maintaining themselves through continuous growth. For helping regulate temperature. Limbs built for climbing. Claws designed for gripping. A tail serving several different functions. All of it operating together. Not one system in isolation, but thousands upon thousands of processes coordinated inside one small living creature. And perhaps this is where the squirrel stops being merely interesting and becomes something worth contemplating. There is a strange problem with familiarity. The more often we see something, the less likely we are to truly notice it. The sunrise becomes ordinary. A tree becomes ordinary. Rain becomes ordinary. A bird becomes ordinary. A squirrel becomes ordinary. Not because these things have become less remarkable, but because we have become accustomed to them. Perhaps wonder does not require traveling to the other side of the world. Perhaps sometimes it requires only looking again at what has always been beside us. Look at the squirrel again. Look at its paws gripping the bark. Look at the tail maintaining balance. Look at the eyes watching the surroundings. Look at the precision of a jump. Look at the food carried carefully between its teeth. Look at the seed disappearing beneath the soil. There is a story happening there. A story of survival, preparation, memory, adaptation, risk, motherhood, and connection. A creature small enough to disappear among weeds is participating in something far larger than itself. The deeper message, and maybe that is the greatest lesson the squirrel quietly carries. Not everything important looks important. Not everything extraordinary announces itself loudly. Sometimes the most remarkable things are small enough to be ignored. A tiny paw gripping rough bark. A heart beating beneath a layer of fur. A seed buried beneath a few centimeters of soil. A forgotten nut becoming a tree. A tree becoming a home protecting another generation, and another, and another. When we look deeply enough at the natural world, we begin to see not chaos, but relationships. Systems connected to systems. Life supporting life. Structures serving purposes. Creatures equipped for environments they did not design for themselves. And for those who believe in a creator, moments like these can become more than interesting facts. They can become invitations to wonder, because it's such remarkable detail can be found in something as small and familiar as a squirrel. What else have we stopped noticing? Perhaps the greatness of creation is not revealed only in enormous mountains, endless oceans, or galaxies filled with stars. Perhaps it is also revealed in a tiny creature running across a branch above our heads. A creature that prepares for winter without knowing what tomorrow will bring. That leaps into empty space equipped with the ability to land. That hides seeds to preserve its own life and sometimes, without ever knowing it, helps create new life. The squirrel will never stand beside the tree it unknowingly planted and understand what it has done. It will never know how many creatures may one day find shelter there. It will never understand the forest as we understand it, and yet it plays its part. Maybe that is why the next time you see a squirrel, you should not look away too quickly. Watch it, notice it. Remember that beneath that small body lies a world of extraordinary design. And perhaps ask yourself, if the Creator placed so much detail, ability, and purpose into a creature we so easily overlook, how much wonder surrounds us every single day, that we simply no longer see. Sometimes all it takes to rediscover wonder is to look at something ordinary long enough to realize it was never ordinary at all.